All right, so I'm here with Freida Pinto, one of the stars of The Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
Now tell me, I know that in the film you really played the voice of reason, throughout the entire film. So are you kind of that way in real life?
I'd like to believe that there are moments in my life where I do that. And I only feel the reason why I would do that is because I know that in a situation where I'd be caught on the opposite end, I would want someone else to be the voice of reason. So I guess sometimes I just feel, it's nice to feel responsible enough to be that voice of reason at times. So in this particular film, it made complete sense because everything else is based on scientific experiments, and we're trying to create a world where we can get rid of illnesses and diseases that deteriorate within ourselves, our parents. We want to make a better life and living for everybody, but there's also a lot of money involved, and there's a lot of exploitation involved, and just in order to better our lives, we cannot really do it at the cost of hurting someone else, and definitely not at the cost of hurting an animal that cannot really rise and say stop.
You really sound like an advocate for not only the film, but for a lot of philanthropies and charities. Are you involved in
Well, I have to say, as much as I say all of this, I sometimes think of myself in that situation that Will finds himself in, where he's trying to help his father remember things that happened in the past. He's suffering from an illness that is kind of degenerated by nature, and he wants him to live those last couple. He actually almost doesn't want his father to die. If you think of it, he wants to stop time and make it go back to all the good times. And what if I found myself in that situation where my father or my mother or a family friend, depended on that drug that needed to be tested on an animal first in order to be. I do know now that animal testing is not a reliable source of testing because they react very differently to us. They do not produce the same antibodies as us, and it's not a reliable way of testing, in short. But still, if that's the way forward, and it has been done in the past, so everybody sitting in this room has been guilty of it already. It has already been tested, and polio vaccinations, penicillin, it's all been done already. What do we do now?
It's okay. Go on. He hasn't spent any time with other chimps.
Oh, we're used to that. He'll be a little skittish at first, but we'll integrate him. You'll probably miss him more than he'll miss you. You'll be surprised how quick they adapt. We provide a stimulating environment. He's gonna thrive here.
Caesar! It's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna stay here now. No. We're not going home right now.
In our experience, the longer you drag out the goodbyes, the harder it is.
And you and James were really put in some compromising positions throughout the film. Did you pull on any personal experiences, or how did you prepare for your role as Carolyn?
I particularly watched a lot of Jane Goodall videos. She was my go-to person if I needed anything. So I watched a lot of her YouTube videos, her visits to primate shelters, and the things that she did, her foundation, in order to understand these animals better. Because I did not have the privilege of actually going to a primate shelter and working with them, which is something I would have loved to do and would still love to do. But I guess this was my only way of learning more about them, and it's such an enriching way. Working in films, and especially films like this, is such a joy, and it's such a, I'll use the word privilege again, for actors, because you get to play these different characters, and the research that you do makes you so much more knowledgeable.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
And how did you get into acting? Because I read that you were once an elite model. And how did you make that transition?
Acting was always the way forward for me, but it was not like I had my ticket as soon as I became an elite model. It was a hopeful way of getting into it, but it didn't really happen that way. And I guess I tried and I waited, and Slumdog happened when it happened, and
Great movie.
that was my first
Great
film.
movie.
Yeah.
Loved that one. And of course, this one as well. You did a great job with us, and thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.